You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere. This is your WMDX Daily News Roundup for Mad Radio 92.7 FM and 1580 AM in Madison.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson. Wisconsin voters have already broken a record for this election before we even get to April 1st. About 500,000 Wisconsinites have already cast their ballot for the spring election. Looking at the data, that's about double the number of people who voted absentee in the 2023 state Supreme Court race. It's part of a growing trend that kicked off during the pandemic. More people are exercising their right to vote before Election Day. According to numbers from the Wisconsin Elections Commission, about half the people who voted early voted absentee in person. The other half returned their ballot directly to the clerk's office through the mail or via Dropbox. We'll get the final count of absentee ballots for this election on Monday. And you can still vote early this weekend. Not all municipalities have early in-person voting available on weekends, but Madison does. You can vote at any of the polling places at Madison libraries tomorrow. And then on Sunday, you can vote at 3 libraries and a handful of churches. You do not need to vote absentee in person at your specific polling place. You can cast your ballot anywhere. But registration is now over, so to vote early, you must already be registered. Sunday is your last chance to cast your ballot early. Governor Tony Evers is touring child care facilities to talk about the challenges they're facing. They're dealing with a workforce shortage, low pay, and tight profit margins. All while for many families, child care is hard to find, and they may pay more for it than they do for their mortgage. Many child care providers rely on funding from the state government to stay afloat. And the Child Care Counts tax credit from the state of Wisconsin expires in June. Evers says 1 in 5 child care centers across the state could close without child care counts.
Some legislators don't understand how important early childhood is, and I've seen numbers that I think are probably low that if we don't do something with this budget, about 20% of these places will close.
Evers included more than $500 million in his state budget proposal to make child care counts permanent, but now the budget is in the hands of state Republicans. And the first person to get $1 million from Elon Musk's latest escapade is supposedly a man from Green Bay. Lisa Hale has details.
In a posting on his social media site X this week, billionaire and friend of the Donald Trump administration, Elon Musk, announced that a voter named Scott with the last initial of A from Green Bay is the first $1 million winner for signing a petition to oppose activist judges. Musk has been accused of trying to buy the election for Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice for conservative Judge Brad Schimmel, who is running against liberal-backed Judge Susan Crawford in a race that is supposed to be nonpartisan. Jay Heck of Common Cause in Wisconsin calls the payments a last-minute attempt to influence the election.
Meanwhile, Milwaukee paramedics are trying out a new system that could eventually save lives statewide. Here's Stuart J. Waddles.
Milwaukee County has taken a big step forward in emergency medical care. What's called a whole blood pilot program is underway, allowing paramedics to give blood transfusions to trauma patients in the field. The initiative involves several fire departments across the county, and it's already helped a gunshot victim. Mayor Cavalier Johnson says the program is another example of the innovation embraced by Milwaukee's first responders.
That's Stuart J. Waddles, and I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson. This is 92.7 WMDX News.
The Brewers lose to the Yanks. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Brewers losing 4-2 on opening day at Yankee Stadium. A positive was Vinny Capra getting the start at third base and hitting a home run on his first at-bat of the season.
I thought it was a pretty special moment. Yeah, I mean, a win is what we're trying for, but first at-bat to want to do, stuck to the plan and kind of ended up working out. So
Brewers pitcher Freddie Peralta on Capra's shot that sailed over the left field wall.
It was impressive. You know, and at the same time, it's a little weird because we get get a little used to see him doing it during spring training. Hopefully that he keeps doing it that well. I think that he has a lot of things to prove, good things for him, for his career, and for the team.
The Crew loaded the bases top of the ninth, but former Brewer Devin Williams got out of the jam, retiring Jackson Trio and Christian Yelich for the save. The two teams have the night off. They'll play tomorrow at noon. NBA. Bucks basketball tonight. They host the Knicks in Milwaukee. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. If you're headed to the theater this weekend, here are some flicks that might be worth a look. If you're in the mood for a horror comedy, check out Death of a Unicorn starring Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega as a father-daughter duo headed to a party when they accidentally kill a unicorn. The film is pulling an almost fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes at 57%, and it's rated R. Another horror film opening is The Woman in the Yard, about an ominous-looking woman who mysteriously appears in a family's yard and gives dire warnings. No reviews in yet, so proceed with caution. Action fans might want to check out Jason Statham's new movie called A Working Man, where Statham's character is a mild-mannered construction worker with a Special Forces military background. You might think you've heard this story before, but no. This is much different than his last film, where he was a trained killer hiding his identity as a beekeeper. In A Working Man, Statham goes after the human traffickers who have kidnapped his boss's daughter. Be careful out there, folks. Pretty much everyone with a mild-mannered job is a trained killer. Let's go to the movies. Actor Bill Murray does not have many regrets over his 50-year career, but the Lost in Translation star appeared on The Howard Stern Show recently and did say he regrets turning down Clint Eastwood. Murray was enamored with some of Eastwood's earlier work and called him. Eastwood asked Murray if he would ever do another military role along the lines of Stripes. Murray told Stern he had sort of a been-there-done-that attitude and passed on what was most likely the film Heartbreak Ridge. And to this day, he still apologizes to Eastwood. Apparently, the phrase raw dogging has more than one meaning. Actor Patrick Warburton has taken credit for creating the practice by way of his character Putty from Seinfeld. Raw dogging refers to a travel trend in which a passenger boards a flight with no form of entertainment and doesn't even sleep. They just sit there and stare like Putty did on Seinfeld. Sound fun? It might be until it drives Elaine crazy and she breaks up with you. Yellowstone appears to be birthing yet another spin-off. Luke Grimes will revise his role as Casey Dutton. There are no storylines available yet, but the show will be produced by MTV Studios. Other Yellowstone spin-offs include 1883 and 1923, which is currently in its second season on Paramount+. Another anticipated Yellowstone spin-off will star Cole Hauser and Kelly Riley as Rip and Beth. It does not yet have a title. Ageism is still alive in Hollywood, but it's not as bad as it used to be for women, according to actress Cate Blanchett. The actress recently told Business Insider that when she started in the biz, an actress had a shelf life of 5 years. In Blanchett's case, it probably doesn't hurt that she's an Oscar winner. The actress is in the midst of a 30-year run with no sign of let-up in sight. The Elizabeth star credits more women producers and writers in positions of power that are more likely to develop roles and content for women. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
A few clouds this morning, becoming partly cloudy and breezy this afternoon with a high in the low to mid-70s today. Tonight will drop to 55, tomorrow cloudy with scattered showers, and then rain and thunderstorms likely tomorrow night into Sunday. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 46.
That's your WMDX Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at mad.radio. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.